Okay, this is another Irish folktale, Finn McCool, the Giant of Knockmany Hill by Tomie DePaola. In olden times, when Ireland's glens and woods were still filled with fairies and leprechauns, giants too lived on that fair Emerald Isle. One of the finest of those big folk was Finn McCool, who was wed to the lovely great lass Onog. They made their home on the top of Knockmany Hill. Look at how the regular people are this big. See the sheep and everything, and see how big they are? Look at their little fairies flying right there. Now, as any good giant, Finn McCool had his work to do, so he was often away from home. Lovely Onog didn't seem to mind, for there was plenty to keep her own hands busy, spinning, knitting, and even giving a pretty touch to their great house. She's spinning right here. Life was very pleasant indeed. One morning, when Finn McCool was busy working with his kin, building a causeway to Scotland, the word came that Cuchulainn was coming. See, he's building a kind of road. Cuchulainn was a giant too, and without a doubt the strongest in that part of the world. When he walked, the very earth trembled, and with one blow of his fist, he had flattened a thunderbolt, so it looked like a pancake. He was so proud of that feat that he kept the thunderbolt in his pocket to show all just how strong he was. There it is right there. Every giant in Ireland had been given a good beating by Cuchulainn. Every giant, that is, except Finn McCool. And Cuchulainn swore by the green that he would never rest day or night, winter or summer, until Finn McCool was added to his list. He wanted to fight him. So far, Finn had been smart enough. He kept moving about whenever he heard that Cuchulainn was in the neighborhood. But this time, Cuchulainn was sure to get him. So Finn left the causeway and sped off for Knockmany Hill, his house and his darling Onog. "Finn, my love," said Onog, greeting him at the door. "What brings you home so early from your work?" "The chance to get a sight of you, my sweet thing," said Finn. Since he was as honest as the summer day is long, he added, "and to keep out of the way of Cuchulainn, he's after me." Onog soothed her husband. She brought him his slippers and lit a pipe for him. She stirred up the peat fire so it would be cozy. Then she set down a huge mug of stout and cut a gigantic slab of soda bread for her dearie. "Finn, husband of mine, enough is enough," said Onog, as gently as she could. "For years you've been hiking around from one place to another to avoid this Cuchulainn. Why, you even built our house high on this windiest of hills so you'd be able to spy him coming. You'll not get a moment's rest until you stand fast and face him. I'll be getting plenty of rest if I stand fast and he knocks me down. I don't have the heart to face a man who can make a young earthquake just with his walk, and who carries around a flattened thunderbolt in his pocket just to prove his strength." At that, Knockmany gave a little dance. "He's coming," said Finn, his face turning a fine shade of pale green. He's worried. "Now hush," said Onog, "and give me time to think. Do you worry that I won't do all I can to help you settle this matter once and for all?" Onog then worked a charm the fairies had taught her. See, they're there, right there. She took 9 woolen threads, each a different color, and braided them into 3 braids. She put one around her right arm, one circling her heart, and the third around her right ankle. Now, nothing she did could fail. See, there it is right there. And there it is right there. And the third one around her heart. Next, she sent around to all of the neighbors to borrow 21 iron frying pans. She hid them in 21 loaves of bread that she baked on the fire in the usual way. She set them in the cupboard with some bread she had baked the day before. She then took a pot of milk and made it into a fresh, wet cheese and put it along with some white stones at the foot of the cradle she had made up. Now, my darling, she said, handing Finn some baby clothes. Oh, gosh. Put these on and do everything just as I'm about to tell you. Oh, he's dressed up like a baby. And remember, she said at the last, Cuchulain's strength lies in the brass finger he has on his right hand. Now quick, into the cradle, because I hear that man mountain at the door. See, there's the cradle right there. All right, woman, bellowed the giant at the front door. Where's that coward Finn McCool that I've been chasing after all this time? Well, well, said Unog with her sweetest smile. Look at how big he is. Now, isn't that a shame? Finn was off working on the causeway when some important family affair called him away. But he'll be home by tea time, so why don't you just come right in and sit down? Poor Finn trembled in the cradle. See this? Cuchulain said, pulling what looked like a pancake out of his pocket. This was a thunderbolt until I caught it and flattened it. And that's what I'm going to do to Finn McCool, too. Tis, tis, said Unog. That may not be as easy as you think. Finn McCool's a big broth of a man. Why, take a look at our little baby, and you might be getting an idea of the strength and breadth of Finn himself. Cuchulain peeked in the cradle. Chirrip, said the huge baby, looking back at him. My, said Cuchulain, what a big boy. While you're waiting, why not have a bite to eat, said Unog. She put some loaves of bread on the table, along with a can or two of butter and a pile of cabbages. Cuchulain, who was as much a glutton as he was a bully, popped a loaf into his mouth and took a huge bite, right down on one of the frying pans. Clang! Ow! Shouted Cuchulain. What kind of devil's bread is this? Here are two of my teeth out. That's Finn's bread, the only kind he eats, said Unog. Is it a bit too tough for you? Too tough for me, shouted Cuchulain. I should say not. Give me another. Cuchulain chomped into another loaf and into another frying pan. I'll not have a tooth left in my mouth, woman. There's two more out, Cuchulain hollered even louder. Oh, look at all the teeth he's missing now. Finn did as he... Oh, hold on, I skipped a bit. The baby began to holler too. Hungry, hungry, hungry. Aw, sweet dumpling, said Unog. And she handed baby Finn a loaf. And because there was no frying pan in it, Finn ate it right now. More, said the baby, and he gobbled up another loaf. He seems a strong lad, said Cuchulain, getting a little worried. If this was the baby, the father must indeed be a bit stronger than Cuchulain thought. Ah, yes, said Unog, beaming. Why, instead of doilies, he loves to play with those white stones there in his cradle. Show the nice man, baby dear. The stones. Finn did as he was told. He picked up a stone that was really the cheese and squeezed all the water out of it and popped it into his mouth and ate it down. Cuchulain was not to be outdone by the baby. He grabbed a stone and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. Squeeze as he might, he couldn't get one drop of water out of it. He popped it into his mouth, and with a chomp, there went the rest of his teeth. Because it was a real rock and not the cheese, huh? The howl that came out of him almost broke all the windows. When he finally calmed down, Cuchulain said to Unog, What kind of teeth does that lad have? They must be made of iron. Let me see your choppers, baby. At that, baby Finn opened wide his mouth, and Cuchulain stuck in his brass finger, the very brass finger that was the secret of his strength. Oh, let's see what happens. With a strong bite, Finn McCool bit the brass finger right off. Then up Finn leapt and began to pound the daylights out of poor weak Cuchulain. That was that. Out the door went Cucullin, never to bother anyone, let alone Finn McCool again. "Tea's ready, my love," said Unog, and Finn McCool sat down with the best giant wife in the whole world, and they lived a long, happy life. The end. Wasn't that cute? She tricked that man.